different. I haven't heard of. We were so different. She was organized and orderly. She was artistic. She enjoyed art classes. She painted. She took up stone sculpting in her mid-70s, which when I was 50 sounded really old. And when I was 20, she was taking belly dance and yoga classes. She was actually a little embarrassed about it, so I don't know, a lot of her friends didn't know she was doing that. I mean, belly dancing at age 40, you know, I mean, that was pretty, She could still do the stomach roll, which I've never learned how to do. She did it last week for the nurses. She did? She did. I would say on Tuesday. She died on Thursday. On Tuesday, she showed a belly roll to someone how she did it. Okay. She was very impressive. She said that she learned that she had great inner ego strength when she took a test at the psychiatric clinic where she worked. She really did have great inner ego strength, and she showed that strength through the last days of her life. She was in charge, even as her body was failing. Her strength was her ability to make the best of any situation. Okay, she did that. She made the best of any situation. Mom was passionate and persistent. When my brother was denied admission to engineering college because his English scores were so low, she wrote to the admissions board. She told them her son was destined to be a great engineer and that he would go to summer school to get his grades up. And the college accepted him and told my mom they had never, ever reversed a decision before. Her persistence had paid off, and I know Jerry is grateful for that. When I told her I was thinking of dropping out of college, I thought I might go pick fruit in California. She found a junior year abroad program to entice me to continue my education, and I'm grateful for that. When Jerry and I were young, our family finances were limited. Dad had invested everything in the factory and had to take over. Still, Mom made sure that I had piano lessons and that Jerry went to Hebrew school to prepare for his bar mitzvah. She continued to tell us how difficult it was that she drove over that Lebanon mountain twice a week over that mountain to take him to Pittsfield for 3 years, and I got to tag along, and I'm really grateful for the Hebrew learning that I received and that she did that. She was a great mother. She made clothes for us and for my Ginny dolls, and there were always 8 nights of presents at Hanukkah. We had a good childhood, and I'm really grateful for that. So Mom was born in 1922 in New York City, Manhattan, Dr. Leff's private maternity hospital, to be exact. When she was 9, the Depression had set in, and the Bachman family moved to the Bronx. Okay, so, Addie was born at home, not in the hospital. Yeah. We all know that story. She met my dad, her future husband, when she was 14, because her family spent summers at the Weinberg farm. She often described how handsome he was, the 16-year-old boy she fell in love with the moment she saw him. She did not fear dying. She did not fear dying because she knew she would be placed right next to him. She didn't know it would be a little chaotic with the thing falling down, but that thought gave her comfort, something to look forward to. She really believed that you needed to come up with things to look forward to, and that would give you the strength to enjoy your life. And she did. She really looked forward to that. And she also looked forward to the fact that Laurie lived here and that Laurie would come and visit her. She would say that often. Okay. So Ruth Bachman was a real New Yorker, sharp dressing and sophisticated. After high school, she went to secretarial school and then went to work in downtown Manhattan. She still knew shorthand, Greg's shorthand. She still used it on her notes and things. But I actually thought it'd be something to keep us occupied in the next week. She was going to live to 103. That was the plan. And so I downloaded Greg's shorthand lessons, and I never got past the first 5 seconds of it.
She still would give me notes, written notes, and some of the words in the notes were shorthand.
And she goes, "Don't you know what that means?" She's like, "No." Okay. She married my dad when she was barely 20. He was all of 22. She was writing wedding invitations on December 7th when Pearl Harbor was attacked. Shorthand, no. But she was writing wedding invitations when Pearl Harbor was attacked, and Al, she always tells the story about your dad coming running in and saying, "The Japs have bombed Pearl Harbor, the Japs have bombed Pearl Harbor." And she's writing wedding invitations. First of all, like, what's Pearl Harbor? I mean, now we all know, but they didn't, nobody knew what Pearl Harbor was, And
I was peeling corn with Jack, and my father came up and said they attacked Pearl Harbor. I didn't even know what he was talking about.
Right.
Because I was only about 11.
Right. So she thought the wedding was going to be called off, but it wasn't. She got married February 1st, 1942. So, for the wedding photo, she was short. My dad was tall, 6 feet. And so for the pictures, the photographer made her stand on a box. Pictures. So she moved with Dad to the Weinberg Farm in Stephentown, New York in 1942. She seemed to adapt well enough to living in the boonies. She was a New Yorker, you know, and she never forgot it. You know, people would say, "Oh, your accent, you're from New York." And she'd say, "I am, and proud of it." She was proud of her garden and that she even grew peanuts. She was active in the community, became a Cub Scout den mother, and twice president of the PTA, the Parent Teachers Association. She loved to tell how the school principal came to our house to recruit her for the second time. Before radar existed, she was a plane spotter for the U.S. Army Air Corps. She got my dad to enjoy square dancing. Well, I don't know if he ever really enjoy it, but she did get him to go. Mom loved to dance, and that we were alike. That's something we both like to do. We moved to Albany in 1958. I imagine Mom liked being in a city again, even if it wasn't New York. I was in 7th grade, and I was not really into the move. I was a country kid, you know. I was a country kid. She was a city girl. Our going to college was important to Mom. I've already mentioned her role in getting us there and keeping us there. And after college, I moved to California. It was 1968. I didn't know I was going to move there. I just went for the summer, but I stayed. Mom was not thrilled with my lifestyle or my absence, although I visited home pretty often, probably whenever they sent me a ticket. At one time, I lived in a house without a phone and hadn't called home for weeks. She contacted the Pacific Grove, California police and got them to come to my house to check on me with a message to call home. Like E.T. I was not happy. I was not happy about that. But later on, I realized how impressive that was. Again, her persistence. I mean, think of it. Your kid is out there in California, you know, and not, you know, we didn't have cell phones or anything then. And I'm so grateful for the caring and concern and love that she had for me, despite our differences. Those were difficult years for me, for her. I was having a great time. My being in California doing who knows what. You know, still, she thrived in Albany and had lots of friends. They frequented theaters and art galleries and called themselves the culture vultures. Addie was one of those. And so was Lillian, who was at the gravesite today. Lillian was one of the culture vultures also. She was there. Okay, she worked at Albany Med in the outpatient psychiatric clinic and says she really should have paid them because she learned so much working there. Then she worked for various state legislators in the New York State Legislature, all from New York City, all pretty radical left-wing legislators. Jerry Kretschmer, Al Blumenthal, Carol Bellamy. Some of them became celebrities in their own right. Mom was 60 when my dad died in 1982. They'd been married for 40 years. She was then working for the New York State Board of Regents. She took early retirement soon afterward. Not one to sit at home. She took a part-time job at Filene's department store. It was actually when she realized her other friends, some of her friends were still working, and so she didn't really want to, you know, she didn't have her golfing buddies, right? So she took a job at Filene's, but she let them know that she needed time off for golf, for winter trips to Florida, and to visit her grandkids in St. Louis. And she was never afraid to ask for what she wanted, and she usually got it. She did. They wanted her. She loved to travel during her 60s and 70s. She did so on her own, a highlight being 2 months on the coast of Spain. Of course, she took her golf clubs there. She moved to Boca Raton, Florida in 1989. 6 years later, she relocated to Sarasota, where Richard and I live. Honestly, I was a bit apprehensive about it. We were so different, you know, but it was okay. Mom and I traveled in our own circles and got together occasionally. At that point, our bond was there. Our mother-daughter bond, you know, was always there, but it was nothing to write home about. Still, for my 55th birthday, when she was 79, she and I planned a trip to Spain together. I surprised myself that I was up for that, but I was. Unfortunately, she had emergency heart surgery just days before we were to leave. So many people came to visit her in the hospital. the lead dancers of the Sarasota Ballet. Remember that? When she was a volunteer there. A car salesman from 2 cars ago. All these people, and Jerry was there, and we were surprised that all these people liked her so much. I wondered, was I missing something? Who was this woman? I'm so grateful that she lived long enough for me to find out. Somewhere along the line, maybe 5, 6 years ago, I totally fell in love with my mother. And I finally understood and experienced the deep connection that a mother and daughter can share. I'd always been jealous of other women who talked about, you know, how they missed their mother, or how, you know, who do you admire, and they would say their mother, and I'd go, really? You know? I do now. She survived her heart surgery, so now she's 80. She received a phone call from this guy, Hank, who she had dated as a teenager in New York City. She had broken up with Hank when she was 17. She met Dad at 14, she met Hank at 15, okay? One summer he actually came up to the farm. In Mom's diary, and yes, she has diaries, decades of diaries. In Mom's diary, it says that Hank and Jack eyed each other. He used to say that, he told her that he was going on his way somewhere, you know, but he told me, no, he lied. He just went up to check out Jack. Because he knew about him. And Erica plans to read every page of those diaries and somehow create a story. I would like to as well. I mean, you know, she let me read the one where I was born. I got to read a few pages, and then it didn't go on. I was her angel, and she was really happy. And then she must have gotten very busy because there weren't any pages after that. So Hank courted Mom. She thought he was too old, but she was 80. He was almost 84. And when she first met him, he looked like an old man to her, you know. But he courted her, he won her over, and then she moved back to Boca Raton to live with him. And they spent 8 years together, golfing and cruising, and had a great time. And then she broke up with him again when she was 88.
Yeah, I remember that phone call. Mickey, I left Hank.
I helped her resettle back in Sarasota. So she was in Sarasota, she was in Boca Raton, Sarasota. And soon after is when our love affair began. I learned that she lived in gratitude. And she was always grateful for things. And I'm sure those diaries, you'll see that expressed over and over again. She was interested in life and the whole world around her. She observed closely, had a keen eye. She always said she saw differently from me because she was an artist. And she was creative and resourceful. As her physical agility waned, she would figure out new ways to manage. And I'd come and I'd notice how she rearranged things. Or even when we got the walker, she didn't start using a walker until the middle of July. The middle of July, you know, like less than 6 weeks before she died. She went from just using a cane, which she had started a couple months before, to using a walker, pushing a walker. And you can see she would go around the house, and she never liked to put a plastic bag in a wastebasket. Things should just go in the wastebasket, and then you dump the wastebasket into the plastic bag. She didn't like how it looked. So she would go around the house, all the little wastebaskets, and put them in. Then she'd tie them to the walker and bring them to the front door so that I could, because she could no longer go out the front door to get to the trash can. She would bring them to the front door so that I could. But she would do it with her walker. I'd come in, they'd be tied to the walker. So she was very resourceful, and she loved her home. She got to sit. She was like this with sliders in front of her kitchen table, and she could see birds and butterflies. She had a whole bunch of butterflies there, and the cats, the feral cats. And she also had windows by her desk, which was another big favorite place of hers, big desk. She lived alone without help until she was struck with the cancer. Less than a month ago, 96 and a half. And I'm so grateful she didn't have any pain and that she wasn't laid up for very long. I mean, Jonathan saw her. She died on Thursday. Jonathan was there Wednesday night, and she knew he was there. She knew he was there Wednesday night, and then she died on Thursday. I think she waited, for him to get there. I have so much admiration for my mom. So even as she was laying there dying, she was asking what she could do. She said, "What can I do?" She figured if she was dying, there was something she was supposed to do, because she always did things. She always, I said, no, it's okay. There's nothing you have to do anymore, And at one point, she did call out. She said, "I'm dying," And I looked at her and I said, "Yeah, is that okay?" Because she had really talked about wanting to. She was ready to go. And she pulled back for a second, and she went, you know, so, I mean, she knew she was going, and she was so ready. She was really looking forward to laying next to Daddy. I think that the fact that she always did, and she had so much energy, so much more energy than the rest of us, is why she managed on her own for so long. I mean, I know I was a big help. In these last few years, if I wasn't there, she couldn't have. But it's not that I did things for her. It's that I gave her company. I accompanied her and helped out with certain things. I did shopping, and I did some things that she couldn't do anymore. But she really did it herself because she had so much energy. She always found what to do. She was never bored. She couldn't understand how people could get bored. You know, she was content with her own company. She was content, and she talked to herself. She wrote these diaries every day. She often said that the best word in the English language was
Pleasure.
pleasure.
There you go,
The
yeah.
best word in the English language. And I saw something she wrote. She said, "If something isn't giving me pleasure anymore, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to continue doing it." Her other favorite word was attitude. She believed that we make our own happiness by our own attitude and our own initiative. So she would want you all to know that she had a great life, she was ready to go, and that just days before she died, she told me that she had told God and her guardian angel that she was ready to meet them. And so she has. Thank you.
Oh, that was beautiful.